Ah, battery. But the batteries don't work on these. And I don't think the battery works on you either, does it? No. So, what's the point of a battery? Wait. Huzzah! Fling the battery! Huh. This isn't... So we need to get... to there. The battery does nothing. Because I can't pull the power out of the battery. And I can't... Yeah, no, I can't do that quickly enough for that. The battery doesn't go in the circles. Missing something? No. Huh. Yeah, they have this on there to make sure you can't do that. Alright, Mr. Battery. I have an idea. You know, I've never thought to try. Let's break a battery. Well then. Well then. What we got? Thinking outside of the box. Dennett. John Cyril and I have a deep disagreement about how to study the mind. For Cyril is really quite simple. There are these bedrock, time-tested intuitions we all have about consciousness, and any theory that challenges them is just pretentious. Preposterous. I, on the contrary, think that the persistent problem of consciousness is going to remain a mystery until we find some such dead obvious intuition and show that, in spite of first appearances, it is false. One of us is dead wrong, and the stakes are high. Cyril sees my position as a form of intellectual pathology. No one should be surprised to learn that the feeling is mutual. For his part, he has no argument. The Chinese room, and he has been toting it basically unchanged for 15 years. It has proven to be an amazingly popular number among the non-experts, in spite of the fact that just about everyone who knows anything about the field dismissed it long ago. It is full of well-concealed fallacies. That's not how the rest of this game has been talking. By Cyril's own count, there are over 100 published attacks on it. He can count them, but I guess he can't read them. For in all those years, he has never, to my knowledge, responded in detail to the dozens of devastating criticisms they contain. He has just presented the basic thought experiment over and over again. I just went back and counted. I'm dismayed to discover that no less than 7 of those published criticisms are by me. In 1980, 82, 84, 85, 87, 1990, 91, and 93. Scarrow debated me furiously in the pages of the NYRB back in 82, when Douglas Hofstadter and I first exposed the cute tricks that make the Chinese room work. That was the last time Cyril addressed any of my specific criticisms until now. Now he trots out the Chinese room yet one more time, and has the audacity to ask, now, why does Dennett not face the actual argument as I have stated it? Why does he not tell us which of the 3 premises he rejects in the Chinese room argument? Well, because I've already done so, and in great detail. In several of the articles, he has never deigned to answer. For instance, in Fast Thinking, way back in the initial stance, 1987, I exclusively quoted his entire 3-premise argument and showed exactly why all 3 of them are false. When given the interpretation they need for the argument to go through, why didn't I repeat the 1987 article in my 1991 book? Because unlike Cyril, I have gone on to other things. I did, however, cite my 1987 article prominently in the footnotes, page 436, and noted that Surreal only response to it had been to simply declare, without argument, that the points offered there were irrelevant. The matter continues. Now he both ignores that challenge and goes on to misrepresent the further criticisms of the Chinese room that I offered in the book under review. But perhaps he has forgotten that what I actually wrote in the 4 years it has taken him to write his review. But enough about the Chinese room. What do I have to offer on my side? I have my candidate for the fatally false intuition. And it is indeed the very intuition Surreal invites the reader to share with him. The conviction that we know what we are talking about when we talk about that feeling. You know the feeling of pain that is the effect of simultaneous stimulus and the cause of the disposition to react. The quell, the intrinsic content of the subject, subjective state. How can anyone deny that? Just watch. But you have to pay close attention. I developed my destructive arguments against this intuition by showing how an objective science of consciousness is possible after all, and how Surreal's proposed first-person alternative leads to self-contradiction and paradox at every turning. This is the... Sorry, reading this much is making my throat dry up. At every turning. This is the deepest mistake. In my book, according to Surreal, and he set out to expose it, the trouble is that the objective scientific method I describe under the alarming name of heterophenomenology is nothing I invented. It is in fact exactly the consciousness, including Crick, Edelman, and Rosenfield. They have no truck with Surreal's intrinsic content and onotology subjectivity. They know better. Oh my god, is it going to be me reading the rest of that? Page 1. Oh. The Imitation Game. What? I mean, I'm going to read all of these. I just wanted to make sure there was no page 3 to what I just read, I guess. There's a lot of page 1 and page 2 here. I don't know where we're supposed to start. Well, I'm going to go over here where this is page 1. The Imitation Game. I propose to consider the question, can machines think? The new form of the problem can be described in terms of a game, which we call the Imitation Game. It is played with 3 people, a man, a woman, a camera, a TV, an interrogator, who may be either sex. The interrogator stays in a room apart from the other 2. The object of the game for the interrogator is to determine which of the other 2 is the man and which is the woman. He knows them by labels X and Y, and at the end of the game he says either X is A and Y is B, or X is B and Y is A. The interrogator is allowed to put the questions to A and B. We announce the question, what will happen when a machine takes the part of A in this game? Will the interrogator decide wrongly as often when the game is played like this as he does when the game is played between a man and a woman? The questions replace our original, can machines think? The question and answer method seems to be suitable for introducing almost any one of the fields of human endeavor that we wish to include. We do not wish to penalize the machine for its inability to shine in beauty competition, nor penalize a man for losing in a race against an aeroplane. The conditions of our game make these disabilities irrelevant. The witnesses can brag, if they consider it advisable, as much as they please about their charm, strength, or heroism, but the interrogator cannot demand practical demonstrations. The game may perhaps be criticized on the ground that the odds are weighted too heavily against the machine. If the man were to try and pretend to be the machine, he would clearly make a very poor showing. He would be given away at once by slowness and inaccuracy in arithmetic. May not machines carry out something which ought to be described as thinking, but which is very different from what the man does? The objection is a very strong one, but at least we can say that if, nevertheless, a machine can be constructed to play the imitation games satisfactorily, we need not be troubled by this objection. It might be urged that when playing the imitation game, the best strategy for the machine may possibly be something other than imitation of the behavior of a man. This may be, but I think it unlikely that there is any great effect. I was like looking at it, that C turned into an R and then back to a C several times in there. It's not my fault. My brain is broken. Any great effect of this kind. In any case, there's no intention to investigate here the theory of the game. It'll be assumed that the best strategy is to try to provide answers that would naturally be given by a man. Excerpts from the Computing Machinery and Intelligence, Alan Turing. Hey, Mr. Turing. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Probably from the Bible, I assume. There's some such thing. Did I read any of those? No? Okay. My inability to jump. Hey, PC. Maybe. I now proceed to consider opinions opposed to my own. The theological objection, thinking is a function of man's immortal soul. God has given an immortal soul to every man and woman, but not in any other animal or to machines, hence no animal or machine can think. But animals can think, so that's wrong. The heads in the sand objection. The consequences of machines thinking would be too dreadful. Let us hope and believe they cannot do so. The mathematical objection. There are a number of results of mathematical logic which can be used to show that there are imitations to the powers of discrete state machines. The best known of these results is known as Gödel's theorem, 1931. It shows that in any sufficient powerful logical system, statements can be formulated which can be neither be proven nor disproved, within the system, unless, possibly, the system itself is inconsistent. The argument from consciousness, his argument is very well expressed in Professor Jefferson Lister's Orientation from 1949, from which I quote, "Not until a machine can write a sonnet or compose a concerto because of thoughts and emotions felt, not by the chance fall of symbols, could we agree that a machine equals brain, that is, not only write it, but know that it had written it. No machine could feel, and not merely artificially signal an easy contrivance, pleasure at its success, grief when its valves fuse, be warmed by flattery, be made miserable by its mistakes, be charmed by sex, be angry or depressed when it cannot get what it wants." I mean, fair. Arguments about various disabilities, but they have made robots that imitate those feelings. They're just like, they got robots that get mad. No, they're programmed to act like they're getting mad. Imitation. Right. Arguments from various disabilities. These arguments take the form, I grant you that you can make machines do all the things you have mentioned, but you will never be able to make one to do X. Numerous features X are suggested in the connection. I offer a selection. Be kind, resourceful, beautiful, friendly. I mean, they've already made beautiful robots. Just throwing that out there. Resourceful, friendly. Tom's fairly friendly. Have initiative, have a sense of humor, tell right from wrong, probably not. Make mistakes, fall in love, enjoy strawberries and cream, make someone fall in love with it, learn from experience, use words properly, be the subject of its own thought, have as much diversity of behavior as a man, and do something really new. Lady Lovelace objection. Our most detailed information of Babbage's analytic engine comes from a memoir of Lady Lovelace, 1842. In it she states, the analytical engine has no pretensions to originate anything. It can do whatever we know how to order it to perform. Her italics. This statement is quoted by Hartree, 1949, who adds, this does not imply that it may not be possible to construct electronic equipment which will think for itself, and in which, in biological terms, one could set up a conditioned reflex which would serve as a basis for learning. whether this is possible in principle or not is stimulating and exciting question, suggested by some of these recent developments, but it did not seem that the machines constructed or projected at the time had this property. Argument from the continuum in the nervous system. Continuity in the nervous system. The nervous system is certainly not a discrete state machine. Right? A small error in the information about the size of a nervous impulse impinging on a neuron may make a large difference to the size of the outgoing impulse. It may be argued that this being, so one cannot expect it to be a mimic, not to mimic the behavior of I don't want to be moving the mouse of the nervous system with a discrete state system. Okay, we don't want the robots to have a nervous system like ours. Okay. Surreal. Thought experiments are important because a lot of the time you cannot carry out the actual experiment, and this is not only in philosophy, but in science as well. So when Einstein said, imagine that you're sitting on a beam of light going into outer space, well, that's a thought experiment. He wasn't going to say, let's get on a beam of light. Of course, you miss the point if you say, well, we'd fall off, or it would be too cold. So thought experiments are always useful, and you test your concepts by imagining what it would be like if such and such were the case. Well, in this particular case, I imagined what it would be like if I followed a program for answering questions in Chinese and giving back answers in Chinese, even though I do not understand a word of Chinese. And that was a very useful thought experiment because it enables us to see that computation by itself isn't thinking. Consciousness exists only insofar as it is experienced by a human or animal subject. Okay, now, grant me that consciousness is a genuine biological phenomenon. Well, all the same, it's somewhat different from other biological phenomena because it only exists insofar as it is experienced. However, that does not give it that does give it. Ha. That's what was throwing me off. I was like, I feel like I'm missing something here because I said does not, and it's not. Whoa. I might have... Nah, I don't have dyslexia. I have something else wrong. I think I have lazy brain. That's an actual thing. Look it up. However, that does give it an interesting status. You can't refute the existence of consciousness by showing that it's just an illusion, because the illusion, reality, distinction rests on the difference between how things consciously seem to us and how they really are. But where the very existence of consciousness is concerned, if it consciously seems to me that I'm conscious, then I'm conscious. You can't make the illusion reality distinction for the very existence of consciousness the way you can for sunsets, rainbows, because the distinction is between how things consciously seem and how they really are. Consciousness is a biological property, like digestion or photosynthesis. Now, why isn't that screamingly obvious to anybody who's had an education? Well, I mean, it isn't obvious, because just because you say you're conscious, like... let's put aside the whole fact that the robot, like Tom, thinks he's conscious. So does that make him conscious and alive? Putting that aside, let's bring this into a completely different thought process, a completely different thought experiment. You're in the fucking Matrix. You think you're conscious? And you are, because the world around you has been programmed to make you think that. But it's a dream. How many times are you in a dream? Unconscious, but in your dream it feels real. It feels like you are conscious. Does that make it actual consciousness in your dream? I don't know. And I think the answer is these twin traditions. On one hand, there's God, the soul, and immortality that says it's really not part of the physical world. And then there's the almost as bad tradition of scientific materialism that says it's not part of a physical world. They both make the same mistake. They refuse to take consciousness on its own terms as a biological phenomenon, like digestion or photosynthesis or mitosis or meiosis or any other biological phenomenon. I disagree with his ending there. I feel like I don't fully agree with that. I think we really have conscious states. To remind everyone of this fact, I asked my readers to perform the small experiment of pinching the left forearm with the right hand to produce a small pain. Okay? This pain has a certain sort of qualitative feeling to it, and such qualitative feelings are typical of various sorts of conscious events that form the content of our waking and dreaming lives. Such events are the data which a theory of consciousness is supposed to explain. In my account of consciousness, I start with the data. Dennett denies the existence of the data. To put it as clearly as I can, in his book, Consciousness Explained, Dennett denies the existence of consciousness. So this is him talking about the thing that in the one that we read first, he talks about how, like, nope, Surreal has clearly not actually read thing that he is saying that I refute, because his words are wrong. He says correctly that when I wrote my review, I took his book to be his definitive statement of his position on the Chinese room and did not consult his earlier works. In fact, I did not know that he had produced a total of 7 published attacks, never mind, this is after that, on this one short argument of mine until I saw his letter. He now claims to have refuted all 3 premises of the argument in 1987. But I have just reread the relevant chapter of his book and find he did nothing of the sort. Nor did he even make a serious effort to attack the premise. Rather, he misstates my position as being about consciousness rather than about semantics. He thinks that I am only concerned to show the man in the Chinese room does not consciously understand Chinese, but I'm in fact showing that he does not understand Chinese at all, because the syntax of the program is not sufficient for the understanding of the semantics of a language. Now it's just exactly what Mikhail was regurgitating, almost verbatim. Whether conscious or unconscious, furthermore, he presupposes a kind of behaviorism. He assumes that a system that behaves as if it had mental states must have mental states. But that kind of behaviorism is precisely what is challenged by the argument. So I have to confess that I don't find that the weakness of his argument in his recent book is helped by his 1987 arguments. What the fuck? This one? To perform her italics. That other page 2 starts near the end of this page 2. Is that it? Is that just the end? No, because there's more here. So this page 2 here is clearly a mistake, because it cuts off half of this paragraph, more than half, and then adds this in below it. This is clearly... oh, it is a page 3. So this one's not supposed to be here, I don't think. Huh. Or they don't expect people to get in here and actually read everything. But I feel like it was just a minor mistake on that one. So, that's... well, technically the final one. So all that's left for achievements is completing Chapter 7, completing the game, and Optional 1. Now, we can't do Optional 1 until we found the thing in Chapter 5, which we... oh, I'm backtracking. Which we did. We found it, so we know what the code is now, and I can go show you what Optional 1 is. But first, we have to finish this. How many rooms are left? How far are we? We've got 4 rooms left, right? Because I feel like that took me a long-ass time in there. Yeah, alright, let's finish Chapter 7. Alright. I feel like Chapter 7 and the epilogue are probably going to be their own chapters. Okay, I didn't expect full 3-dimensional control here. Okay, well, good to know, I guess. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that's doing, but that does answer one question about what I was thinking. So, Tom is going to go jump on that for me. No, he's not. He's not going to do that yet. Because I am going to come over here. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have this episode be Chapter 7 and... there? That's right. This episode be Chapter 7 and the epilogue. That being said, if the epilogue and getting optional for number 1 ends up taking more than a half hour, I might just cut it and have it be an episode on its own. What does that give me? Hey, Tom Cameras. What can you see and do here? Oh, neat. Can't do anything with that, but you can do this. Can you do anything with that? Nope. You can't see Tom bots. Why do I have 2 cameras here? That is clearly where I have to put power in. Wait. Hold on. Huh. The thing is, he can't get out of there at all. Oh, I can keep going up. Well, let's see what else there is to explore before I go making assumptions, I guess. There's no Tombot here. Which means I'm assuming I have to get a Tombot up there. How unhelpful. There's nothing to see up here. I need to be able to activate the mag. Oh, it's right there. Perfect. Alright, and I picked up Tom, exactly as I hoped it would. We're going to go like that. Thank you, Tom. Like that. And I'm going to get back into Tom. Tom is going to turn 100% around. So like that. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to open door. My problem is I didn't look at the magnet effectively. I take both of those, and I feel like I'm going to want one right there. Because I'm pretty sure that is not at all what I expected. Okay. I need to get Tom up here. Okay, well I'm not going that way, that's for sure. Which means I need to go back over there to take control of that again. What does getting Tom to there do? And that isn't gonna make... Fuck. Alright, let's try it. See what I can do with this information. So down here again. I've activated that. Bring Tom over there. Great. And let's give him this. Take away that. Alright, Tom. Whoa. What is this going to do? Oh, hey. Oh, it activates the magnet from a different spot. Okay. So now we have another orb, basically? It basically just got me a third... No. No, it did. because I still can't get up there without dropping Tom. There. What has this done for me? Like, legitimately, I have no idea here. Well, that's not quite right, now is it? Well, that's slightly off-center. Oh, it's because the magnet-y thing's really throwing it off. Neat. Alright, so, Tom. Can you see the power? You sure can, buddy. Hi. But now I can't get through that door. So,